The summer we moved into the old house by the river, the kitchen clock kept a tide-like time that never quite matched the town's. I was 9 and small enough to slip my hand into my grandmother's when the world grew too large. The house smelled of damp wool and lemon rind and something else, the harbour's memory coiled in the corners, the way a story hides in a drawer you've learned not to open too often. I believed the house was only old, nothing more, a place for a boy to keep his rough maps and a girl to hide a secret or two beneath the bed. It was a calm, ordinary thing then, the sort of thing you tell yourself so many times you almost begin to believe it's true. Grandmother had a ritual she insisted we learn before the summer learned us. It was not loud. It did not disturb the furniture or the tides outside. It began with a circle drawn in chalk on the kitchen floor. A thin line as careful as handwriting. Then came a single blue candle, unlit but ready, its wax smelling faintly like cornflowers and rain. The circle was for memory, she would say, and memory is a door we must guard with quiet words. We placed a coin on the sill, and in the hush that followed, spoke the names of people we missed, people who did not belong to the room, but to some other part of the world we hoped to reach. A grandmother far away, a friend who had left without saying goodbye, a cousin who had vanished. The first name I learned by heart was Mina, my cousin Mina, a girl with a stubborn curl and a laugh that could roll a thundercloud back into its cage. Mina had disappeared one late summer afternoon when the river wore its face like a bright coin and the boat seemed to drift toward another country. The river claimed a few summers, I learned later, and Mina's name drifted away with mine, and with the fishwives' rumours. We lit the blue candle only at dusk, when the light lost its edge and the house grew more patient, listening. The circle's chalk kept its own scent, a chalky memory that clung to shoes and socks and the hems of skirts. Mina's name, whispered into the space between two breaths, seemed to listen. And sometimes, just as I would finish speaking, the old clock in the hall would tremble, as if the house itself blinked and remembered something it had forgotten to say aloud. The ritual worked in the way a cave works, I suppose, not by bright revelation, but by a series of small, patient doors opening slowly, one creak at a time. The walls learned to hold their breath a moment longer. The floorboards pressed down with a gentler weight when you crossed them, as though the house permitted you to share its load. It was not that Mina could be summoned back to the kitchen. It was that the kitchen learned to keep Mina near, in the shape of memory, in the careful curl of a curl, in the muffled laughter that sometimes seemed to drift from the pantry when no one was there. Time moved like a careful bellows cigarette puff, a little in the morning, a little at dusk, and more when rain pressed on the roof and the river turned the yard into a soft, murmuring drum. The summers we spent there, mine, Mina's, and the old houses, became the sort of memory that grows roots in the bones and makes a quiet demand on your future. Years folded over themselves, like old letters you keep for nostalgia's sake, and the house kept a different time for every room, as if it had mastered the art of living past a single life in many small, intimate ways. In the attic there lay a trunk that never felt settled. It wore its dust like a crown. The lock was a stubborn thing, and the key did not easily surrender to turning. It preferred to be coaxed with a patient palm and a memory you kept to your lips. Grandmother warned me about it in whispers, the way grown-ups do when they're certain you'll forget and it will ruin everything if you forget. Some things, she said, are not yours to keep or to dismiss. Some doors must remain only partly opened, else they open in you. I grew older, as people do, and the old house did not, or did so in a slow, patient fashion that felt almost ceremonial. My parents faded into memory. Some days I could swear they were still a morning glow at the edge of the kitchen curtains. Yet the house remained, a patient witness to all the living and the dead and the in-between. The river still pressed its mouth to the yard on stormy nights. The wind whispered through the rafters, and Mina's name, which had begun as a whisper in the circle's breath, found its echo in the house's own grammar. When I returned after many years, the town had changed its voice, but the house did not. The blue candle had burned to a stub, but the air around Mina's old circle still smelled faintly of wax and rain and something sweeter, something that did not belong to this world yet did not feel foreign. The trunk in the attic waited as it always waited, with a kind of tired reluctance, as though it knew I would find the things it had guarded if I searched long enough. The coins on the sill lay there, not glittering with time's promise, but dull with the weight of many remembered evenings. In the attic, I found a notebook I did not remember owning. Its pages were soft and yellowed, the handwriting on them mine, only once, long ago, when I was a child who believed in the circle and Mina's laugh more fiercely than I believed in the sun at noon. The entry started as my voice, then drifted into a younger voice, the voice I used to have when the river taught me to listen for what the town did not want to hear. There were drawings of Mina as a girl with hair like fine thread woven into the air itself. There were lines that described the circle's shape with the precision of someone who had practiced geometry with a friend's fist in a quiet room, as if the floor could remember the angle a foot would land when Mina took a step toward the door that would never truly close. On the last page, a single line in that younger handwriting. If you listen, you'll hear Mina breathing in the walls when night falls and the windows remember the rain. I did not know whether to laugh or to listen, and so I did both, letting the night fall softly upon the attic's dust. The house did what old houses do when asked to repeat a memory they have learned to love. It breathed in a way that felt almost like a sigh. A floorboard whispered the faintest creak, and the wall behind the trunk, somewhere near Mina's old circle, seemed to give a small, almost reluctant tremor, as if the house itself remembered to keep the secret of our summer. That night the river spoke in a language older than river. The wind took its own time to knock on the outside walls, as if tapping politely before entering a room with a memory of a girl who used to run along the shore. The candle's memory, if it still lived, flickered as if Mina's breath drifted through the air and found its way to me.